long time coming. It's good to be here. For our visitors, if you will, please find a visitor card. There should be one close to you near the songbooks. Fill one out for us and pass that to the end of the aisle, and we'll pick those up after services this morning. Again, going to David, we welcome you. We're glad that you're here. For everybody, it's nice. I was thinking you had to turn sideways when I got out to work, get out to the front. In teaching class this morning, first time in a while, I had to sit by the wall. So it's nice to have room and spread out, see everybody here this morning. In a few weeks, sometime close by, we'll be having an open house of some kind, and I haven't decided what to do yet. We'll be making a decision on that. We'll at that time have some special thank yous, do some things on that occasion. But again, so many have done so much. And one of the things that I have learned, I've never built anything other than a doghouse before, is there's a lot goes on that you never see. There's things that Brother Myers did that are in these walls, and we flip switches, they work. We don't realize they're there because we don't see them. And there are things that are all in every aspect of this building that people have done and literally put hours and hours and hours into. I think it was Ginger yesterday. She said, "I'll never take a church building for granted because normally, you drive up, walk in, sit down, and it's there." So when you go through the process that we have, we've seen what actually goes into it. And certainly God knows each and every one and all of the effort that has gone into it. Dick is going to be leaving tomorrow for 2.5 to 3 weeks to maybe Colorado, is that right? Colorado Springs. Dick has not been feeling well the last several weeks, but some of you I know talked to him Wednesday, he's going. But on the phone earlier this week, Dick said this is probably the last of these trips that he makes. So we need to especially remember Dick in prayer. This is going to be a very hard trip for him. This is one of the jobs where they go in and take the refrigeration and microwave units out of dorm rooms and replace them with new ones. And Dick is a hands-on person. He's not going to sit down and watch. And Dick's legs, neither one doing well. And so please let's remember Dick, especially in prayer over the next few weeks while he is away. David did mention himself that David hurt his back with all this coughing. David's back is better also. This has been a holiday weekend, July the 4th. Now, what I want to talk about this morning, at least part of it, would have been good to talk about a few days earlier, but we're going to look back since it's so close. But we know that on July the 4th, a lot of families enjoy time away from their jobs, unless you're like Ken, you get to work extra. And we spend time with families, often get together, and barbecue seems to be a favorite dish during the 4th of July weekend. Wendell mentioned yesterday we need to go to the landfill and it was closed. 4th of July, 1 2 days, it closes. But most banks were closed. Post office, I assume, is closed. A lot of businesses closed. A lot of people get a holiday to celebrate the 4th of July. What will we celebrate? Are you smart enough to right? How many years? 232 years. We're babies. There are buildings in most of the world older than our country. In St. Petersburg and Moscow, I was amazed looking at buildings that were built 200 and 300 years before our country ever gained its independence. But 232 years ago, we gained independence in America. We gained the freedom to assemble here without fear of being arrested, put in prison, put to death. Religious freedom. Separation of church and state simply means that the government will not try and regulate our religious thinking. Not what people are trying to pervert it into. we enjoy the freedoms in this country. So many freedoms, almost too numerous to begin to mention. And we're reminded as we celebrate the 4th of July, we should be anyway, of the great men who fought in the Revolutionary War. We're reminded of the great men who founded and who fathered this country, if you will. John Hancock, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, just to name a few. And what great examples, not only of leadership, but of citizenship, because they had a dream of what this country could be. The United States of America. Remember George Washington? George Washington was the boy that couldn't tell a lie. Now, I don't know about you, but I have fond memories of the bicentennial. 1976, Piedmont, Alabama. But then, it was during that year I read about a story that really, I guess, got my attention. Because a mother had a little boy, a young son, and he was lying. So she thought, here is a grand time, the bicentennial, to use George Washington as an example of a boy that would not tell a lie. So on that occasion, she caught him in a lie, and she went on to tell him about George Washington and said, son, why do you think George's father was so happy to forgive him after he chopped down that cherry tree? Now, she just knew that he understood the lesson. You know, as parents, we often take it for granted they understand those lectures we're given. And the little boy's reply is what got my attention, because as he wiped the tears from his eyes after he'd gotten his spanking, he said his father was glad to forgive him because he was still holding the hatchet in his hand. Well, I hope that wasn't the reason. He was quick to forgive because the boy told the truth. That was the idea. You know, as we come together this morning, there are a lot of things that came to my mind as I thought about the 4th of July, as I thought about freedom. Not just about the freedom that we have as Americans, but the freedom that we have as Christians. And I thought of several different ways, and I hope that in the coming years I can pursue some of these different avenues during this time of the year when we're thinking about freedom. We can think about the price of freedom. In recent years,